What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. That's not the right camera. There we go. Ooh, SG. SG says, "What's up, Daddy?" I don't know how I feel about that. I'm having some kind of feeling. We'll have to discuss that off stream. Oh, Skydozer is also having a feeling about that. Some people are having I believe that they call it the ick now. Is that what they call it? I think it's yeah, the ick. You're getting the ick. Yes, it's me. I'm your FPV daddy. Do you remember that scene in Friends when who was it? It was I think it was Phoebe and Ross. And there, by the way, I'm old. I have a lot of Friends references, and Ross was trying to. She was like, Rachel called him daddy because they were calling each other mommy and daddy because they had a baby together and they were trying the baby was going to learn to call them mommy and daddy, and Phoebe goes, ooh, daddy, and Ross tries hard to leave. He's like, yeah, and maybe you're and then he can't do it, and that's how I feel. That's how I feel about that. Like, Phoebe clearly just absolutely, yeah, no, that's not me. What I am is I'm the FPV know-it-all, and I'm going to answer your questions about FPV. The questions are being queued up right now. In fact, here they are. Whoa, look, Blunty's queuing the questions. And we're going to take those questions. We're going to answer them, it'll be about 2 hours. I want to start, though. I want to acknowledge the T-shirt that I have on right now. And I want to start by saying, if you get this reference, well, you're cooler than me. I didn't get this reference. I got a box of shirts in the mail from Wrecked. And I would like to say, if you are going to send me, by the way, don't send me T-shirts. Don't send me T-shirts. Please, nothing more annoying than when a big box of shirts shows up in the mail and I'm like, now I have to, I hate it. But if you do send me shirts, I'm no longer an extra large. I'm a large now. So, this is an extra large. Thank you. I used to be an extra large. It's a good guess. So if you're going to send me a box of free shirts, send me larges now until I get fat again, which I probably will. But these shirts are very cool. This is from Wrecked, and Blunty was the one who reminded me what this is a reference to. I just grabbed a shirt out of the box and was like, I guess I'll wear this shirt. It's probably cool. It's from Wrecked. This is a reference. Blunty, do you want to tell them what the reference is, or are you too busy queuing comments? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this is for those of you who are new or who don't remember. Orca had their goggles suddenly locked out for all their users on a certain date. I believe that date is the date on the shirt, 4/29/23.
Probably.
And what popped up is Swarg, and then this guy Swarg posted on Facebook and said, "Hey, I did this. This is a bootloader we hid in the goggles. Ha ha ha! They didn't pay me or whatever." And then it turned into a whole big thing where they had to figure out how to unlock the goggles. People had to send them back. It was a giant mess.
Yeah. The coder they hired to write code for them snuck an exploit into their bootloader, so all the goggles just stopped working on this date. And Orca had to work really hard to figure out how to undo it because he locked them out of the bootloader. Eventually, they did figure out a fix. It was a big kerfuffle though, and so I guess this is a really obscure reference that no one will get. But it's a nice shirt. It's a nice shirt. It's good. It feels good. The printing is seems reasonable quality, and I literally have a giant pile of these shirts. They sent me a box with 20 shirts, so thank you. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but every time people send me swag, I feel obligated to wear the swag on a live stream because it seems like that's probably why they're sending it to me, is they want me to wear it. And then if everyone did it, I would run out of shirts. I wouldn't have enough live streams to do it all. So I always feel slightly guilty when it happens, but they are pretty cool shirts. So Wrecked. So free little plug for Wrecked. That's the way the filthy lucre works, right? They have a lot of cool shirts. Where is it? Lifestyle T-shirts. Yeah, they actually have a lot of cool shirts. So go check them out. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Enough of that. Let's get to the questions. Yes, there it is. You should call me Daddy, says Ross. And Phoebe says, I like that, Daddy. And Ross says, I was speaking with Rachel, and she says, ooh, is Daddy getting angry? Is Daddy going to spank me? And Ross, he starts to, I don't know what he says. He starts like, yeah, Daddy. Oh, I can't do it. And that's when I developed, got into Phoebe. I mean, you could ask yourself, which of the friends, you could tell a lot about a person by which of the friends they would bang first, you know? And if it's, I can't decide. I was about to say if it's Chandler, then there's something wrong with you. But Chandler, actually, he's a goofy guy. He could be fun to date. And I was going to say, well, clearly Ross is like the biggest loser, but I'm clearly a Ross. So I can't say that. Okay. So no more FPV Daddy. We're going to answer questions. Let's start with. Where should a hobbyist begin? Hobbyists should begin in the simulator, as always, with a controller you bought in the simulator. Before you buy any equipment, you should get a hand controller and learn to fly in the sim. Because if that frustrates you enough that you quit, then FPV is not for you. Is there a good way of doing an external temp sensor into Betaflight? This is a really obscure question, but I think a really interesting one. So the short answer is no, but the longer answer is maybe. So most external sensors are either digital sensors, in which case they're going to connect to a UART, like a GPS, or they're going to connect to like the I2C, the SDA and SCL pads, like a compass and a barometer, okay? So those are digital sensors. They have a serial digital interface, and Betaflight interfaces with them. But there are other sensors that are analog sensors, and the most common analog sensor that you'll deal with is the current sensor. The current sensor is just a voltage that comes in on a wire, and it's from 0 to 3.3 volts. And 0 volts is 0 amps, and 3.3 volts is the top of the scale, whatever that is. There's a calibration value. And then the voltage just tells you how many amps are being pulled. So since Betaflight supports any analog sensor, what you could do is you could get a temperature sensor that outputs a 0 to 3.3 volt analog signal, right? And basically, the sensor will be designed so that 0 is the bottom of the scale. Maybe it's 0 degrees Celsius, I don't know. And 3.3 volts is the top of the scale. Maybe it's 300 degrees Celsius, 200, whatever it is. And then you could wire that into Betaflight as if it was the current sensor. And you would go into the power and battery tab, and you would put the scaling in there, you know, and then Betaflight would read 20 amps, but you would know that was 20 degrees Celsius. 1,000% you could do that. You could do that. The question would be, though, because then you'd lose your current sensor, which you don't want. The question would be whether Betaflight supports any other analog sensors. Like, for example, does Betaflight support airspeed sensors? Well, AI says it does. Oh, well. So the SpeedyBee F405 wing features a dedicated I2C connection. That's a digital airspeed sensor. Now, if we look at INAV, this is true. I can confirm that AI is not just hallucinating this. INAV has support for multiple different analog sensors, including an airspeed sensor. I don't need to do that. Like the Maytech H743 Slim has multiple ADC inputs. Let's see if we can find that. Airspeed. This pin right here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in. Where it says airspeed. That is going to be a second ADC input, and you could wire your temperature sensor up to the airspeed pad, and then in INAV, when you turn on airspeed, it'll actually be the temperature sensor. Is there just a generic ADC input? I don't think so. So that is what you'd be looking for. I'm not sure whether Betaflight supports that. I think that it probably doesn't. As far as external temp sensor, I don't think it has support for that. I'm not sure whether INAV does. I would think that ArduPilot would have, because ArduPilot has support for damn near everything. Let's just go real quick here to the supported sensors and see if there's anything in here. No, nothing in here. Nothing in here. These are all digital anyway. So, yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that steers you in the right direction. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, shit. Zombie Toes, thank you. Oh, see? I just should have dug deeper. Zombie Toes points out that INAV has support for digital temperature sensors. Shit, yeah. That's really the way you'd like to do it, is with a digital sensor, so that you don't have to do like analog calibration, which is kind of annoying. That's fantastic. Yeah. This is the kind of thing where INAV is going to have much more mature support than Betaflight. Just because INAV is more focused on these type of, full-fat aircraft. Thank you for pointing that out. Zombie Toes in the Discord. Well done. Bird's Eye View Hamburg asks, I cannot find the solder pads for the buzzer on the Blitz ATF435, and since there is no plug included, I don't know how to connect a buzzer. Oh, my favorite activity is hunting down wiring diagram stuff. I'm not being sarcastic. I actually kind of like that. It's kind of a fun treasure hunt. So what we want to do is we want to find a wiring diagram. There we go. Downloads. ATF435 wiring diagram v2.1. I don't know what the difference in the... And let's just look. I guess we'll look right here. Yeah, okay. The first thing I'll do is I'll just look at the main wiring diagram. And sure enough, right here, 5-volt ground, LED, and buzz minus. So this is where the buzzer is intended to go. On this plug right here, it's got both the LED strip and the buzzer minus. And then you're like, well, where is buzz plus? Buzz plus is just 5 volts. Buzz minus is the switched ground connection that lets the current flow through the buzzer and turns it on and off. Okay. So that's, and it doesn't look like there are solder pads for that, which is your suspicion. And on these, yeah, on these Blitz flight controllers, there often are not solder pads for all of the functions. That's just a design decision they've made. There are usually solder pads for the major functions, but some of them are only populated in the plugs, and that appears to be the case here. So you say, though, there is no fitting plug included. Oh, I see. So you don't know what plug you need. Okay, that's easy. What you need to do is buy one of these. Yes. Now, you don't have to buy this exact one from Race Day Quads. What you want, the type of connector is JST-SH, and it's specifically 1.0 millimeter is the pitch. So what you specifically want is JST-SH 1.0. Zoom in here and get it really big so you can read it. JST-SH 1.0. That's the connector. So you need a 4-pin JST-SH 1.0 connector. Okay? Now what you should buy is a variety pack like this that comes with pre-terminated cables of various lengths and connectors. Okay? Unfortunately, it looks like the JST SH only version here is sold out, and you don't really need a bunch of Molex connectors and other connectors. I don't know why they have that. So we can look around. We can also go to Amazon, which is where I go for a lot of this stuff, and just search JST SH 1.0 connector kit. Don't buy a crimper. Crimping these by hand is a gigantic pain in the ass. So some people do it, and they're like, what do you mean it's a pain in the ass? It's not that hard. Good for you if you're that person. This kit is fine. I would want to make sure, number one thing I don't like about this kit is it only has one length of wire. And if that length of wire is too short or too long, you're screwed. So that's a little bit annoying. It's 150 millimeters. It's not that bad. And then the other thing I want to look for is that it has silicon insulation wire, not plastic insulation wire. It's a little hard to tell. Did I buy this? I've bought a kit before. I'm not sure. But this is what I would look for, is something like this. And then you make your own connector by putting the, like you see this dude doing, by putting the pins in, the wires in, and making your own. Let me just look if I can find silicone cables. Yeah. Oh, this is bad. This is a good one. Oh, look at that. A nice metal case. Is that a metal case? No, surely not. It's plastic. This looks pretty good, actually. Okay, so soft, this has silicon insulation wires. That's the one you want, for sure. Frequently returned item. I wonder why. That's weird. It seems like it's what you want. SH 1.0, silicon insulation. Anyway. I don't know why it has a lot of returns. Oh well. That's, I don't know. You find something like that. That's what you want. Moving on. Is it normal that the DJI O4 Pro doesn't save the video on SD card if recording isn't stopped before disarming? Okay, here's what you do about that. Yes, that's normal. But what it does is it saves a file. I forget what it has a weird extension. I forget the name of it. And then the next time you power up, it repairs the file. And the file is there except for the last few seconds. Okay? Now, I don't know if you, like, that has always been the case for me. I'm sure on the O3, and I'm sure on the Vista. I'm not 100% sure on the O4, because I don't actually have that many quads with O4s in them yet. But that's how it has always worked. Okay? So what you want to do is you want to stop the recording before you unplug the drone. But if you fail to do that, just power the drone up again. Wait for the O4 to finish booting up, and when it finishes booting up, it will have repaired the file. But if you take the SD card out and you screw with the SD card and you format it or whatever, then the file's gone forever. Okay? Hopefully that will, hopefully that'll help you. What experience have you had with Betaflight 4.6, and should I be looking forward to it as an upgrade to any older 4.4 builds I have? Asks Morton Upshot. So I have very little experience with 4.6. I have done a tiny bit of testing with 4.6 to test out the altitude hold and the position hold, which is the major new feature in 4.6 that is coming. But my policy is that I usually don't screw around too much with pre-release builds of Betaflight, because so much can change between the pre-release and the release. When Betaflight 4.6 comes out, I will dive in and I will make content about it. But I don't want to make a bunch of content about, like, people are making content about position hold and altitude hold in Betaflight 4.6. And then, like, they change some feature, they make a major change to the way it works. And this has already happened at least once, where the instructions changed because they're still working on it and they're making it better. And then all the videos that were out there are now incorrect. So what do? Do I delete the video? Now I'm giving people bad information. The other thing is that when you're making content about a pre-release, you're potentially telling people it could have bugs. It could have major problems. And if I make a video about it, a whole bunch of noobs will go try it out because they think it's safe because Bardwell told them how to do it. And then potentially they could run into trouble. And I don't want to do that. So I don't have a ton of experience with Betaflight 4.6. I will when it actually hits. I'll wait for it to hit release candidate, and that's when I'll start working on it. Should you upgrade? Normally, I would say don't bother. Normally, the difference between like Betaflight 4.4 and 4.5, there usually isn't like one killer feature that means you absolutely need to upgrade. For example, Betaflight 4.4 had support for digital high definition OSD, and that was kind of a big deal if you had digital like DJI Walksnail or HD0, and so that was a killer feature that meant that you really wanted to upgrade. But if you didn't, if you were flying analog, there's not that much of a reason to go from 4.4 to 4.5. You just don't trouble yourself. Just keep flying and enjoying your drones. So, in 4.6, the killer feature that we know is coming is the support for position hold and altitude hold if you have a GPS on the drone. So, if you have a drone that has GPS on it and you want Betaflight to have position hold and altitude hold, then by all means, upgrade. You definitely want to upgrade. But if you have a drone that doesn't have altitude hold, then maybe not. What I would suggest you do is when 4.6 goes into release candidate, you start looking at the release notes, and they'll have a list of new features that are in 4.6, and you scroll through the list. And if any of that sounds compelling, then you go ahead and you try it out. Make sure that you save a CLI dump. Go to the CLI and type dump all or diff all, and you save that. So that if you go to 4.6 and things don't work out for you, you could just flash back and restore your configuration and nothing is lost. Okay? Hi GB, if I have Jello in my DJI Action 4 and not the O3 and my drone is factory stock, should I tune PIDs and soft mount it? No, don't tune PIDs. If you have Jello in the Action 4 but not the O3, that tells you that your drone is relatively smooth. Madstick. Madstick, you've got off the rails, dude. I'm so enjoying watching Madstick. Hello, I'm just a nice, reserved Welsh gentleman. And then like, I think Madstick, we get a few drinks in him, he's probably the most raucous of any of us. I just have this feeling about him. So the issue is clearly in the mounting of the Action 4, right? That's where the vibrations are coming from. So I would try to improve the mounting. I don't think PID tuning has anything to do with high frequency vibrations of the camera. That's not how PID tuning works. You could try balancing your props, although if they're 5-inch or lower props, that probably is not the issue. If they're 7-inch or larger props, it might be worth balancing the props to try and reduce the vibration. Also, I strongly advise you not to use the magnetic mount because that will absolutely let go in a crash and you will just lose your camera. So, yeah. But yeah, I would try mounting the camera differently. It's coming up on the half hour. Let's do super chats. We got 4 or 5 super chats. Super chats are where you pay money to get go to the front of the line. Except the way I always do the stream is I spend a few minutes just answering regular chats before we then let the super chatters go to the front of the line. So now is the time. If you want to go to the front of the line, basically hit the $sign down in the chat window, leave a super chat, and we will clear out the super chat queue before we start answering the regular questions again. The first super chat is from Zombie Toes of Nothing. Thank you for $5. Zombie Toes, is there a way to get external temp sensor into Betaflight? Oh, we did that. I have lithium-ion batteries and a motor ESC and an RC car. I want temp sensors on and view and OSD. You're not going to be able to get motor temperature for what it's worth. You need a temperature sensor built into the motor to do that. And those do exist, but if you had one, you'd probably... Well, no, I take that back. You know what? Your car is probably an in-runner motor. RC cars use in-runners. So the housing of the motor doesn't spin like a drone motor does. So you could, in fact, mount a temperature sensor on that motor. I take it back. You 100% could. It would just be the case of the motor, not the inside. Is there a fix for AKK X2 Ultimate or Mach 2 Smart Audio? Scott Perry. Are you from 2017, Scott Perry? A long time ago, there was a bug in the implementation of the Race Day Quads Mach 2 where it didn't work with Smart Audio, and then Betaflight had a fix for the bug, and I don't even know, my guy, if that issue still exists. What version of Betaflight are you running? Are you running 4.5? I like, the other thing is that, yeah, I have no idea, man. I do want to point this out. I haven't made a video about this, but maybe I should. Betaflight 4.5.2 has a Smart Audio bug where basically Smart Audio doesn't work. If you're using Betaflight 4.5.2, that's the problem. Now, if someone in the chat pops up and says, oh, what do you mean? It works for me. Great. I don't know the exact ins and outs, but what I do know is I have had multiple reports, including my own personal experience, and this is how I found out about it. I was doing a build, and Smart Audio didn't work, and I went back to the manufacturer of the flight controller. It was the TBS Lucid flight controller, which is relatively new. So I reached out to TBS and was like, hey guys, is there a problem with your flight controller? I can't get Smart Audio to work. I've got like three quads here, all with the same flight controller. Smart Audio doesn't work on any of them. And they came back and were like, there's a bug in Betaflight 4.5.2. So I flashed to 4.5.1, boom, it immediately worked. And since then, I've had multiple people email me and say, I can't get Smart Audio to work. What am I doing wrong? And I say, flash back to 4.5.1, and it fixes it. So I don't know the deal, but maybe we need to get this out there as a live stream clip. Betaflight 4.5.2. If you're trying to get Smart Audio to work and you can't get it to work and you're on Betaflight 4.5.2, try flashing to 4.5.1. So, and that may fix it. Anyway. So going back to this question from Scott Perry. Says, I just bought an AKK on Amazon and Betaflight 4.5. Yeah, but 4.5.0 or 4.5.2? If it's 4.5.2, that's probably your problem. Scott Perry, the old issue that used to exist where there was a Smart Audio incompatibility, like, I don't even remember the ins and outs of that. It's been so long. Yeah, Scott Perry's on 4.5.2. Flash to 4.5.1. I bet that fixes it.
There is apparently a fix. I don't know if you want that.
Absolutely. On 4.5.2? What's the fix?
You have to use a special define when you flash.
Shut up.
I posted it in the Discord.
It's
a bug, but there's a thing that fixes it.
Well, I'm glad you found that. I'm also annoyed that the whole thing exists, but I'm glad there's a solution.
Also supposedly fixed in 4.6 without this, but yeah.
Well, goddamn, I hope it's fixed in 4.6. How do they break it in 4.5.2? That was my thing. We go from 4.5.1 to 4.5.2. This is a minor dot release with, like, how did you break something as fundamental as Smart Audio when going from 4.5.1 to 4.5.2? Guys, I say, as someone from the complete outside who has no idea how hard your job is, and I'm just a whiny customer, and I'm not even a customer because I don't. Actually, I do technically support the Betaflight group. I send them a few $100s a month just as a thank you for my entire career. So technically, I am your customer. So that's why I do it, is so I can feel justified when I complain. You know, they're like, "Fuck this guy, he's fucking whining on a live stream," and I'm like, "Hey, I support you. That gives me the right to complain." Anyway, what's the fix?
If you scroll all the way down.
Is it the AKK Smart Audio define? No.
No, there's another one. It's use non-compliant Smart Audio define.
Oh my god.
If you scroll all the way to the bottom, he shows He says it works for him with use _ non-compliant _ Smart Audio custom define.
You use both of these or just one? Oh, I see. So, interesting. Soft serial. Other defines available. Which one fixed it for him? The use non-compliant Smart Audio. That fixed it. Fixed it. Okay. So we'll put this all in a live stream clip, Blenty. I'm sure you already know that. And we'll put a link in the video description to this Betaflight issue. But the gist of it is, people are like, well, how do I do a custom define, right? What we're going to do is we're going to plug in our flight controller. We're going to go to the We're going to go to the update firmware tab. And here where it says custom defines, does it autocomplete? No, it doesn't. How are you supposed to know what the available defines are?
I think you also leave out the use, but I don't know if you have to. I think it might do it both ways.
I think you can.
Okay.
So we do that. Non-compliant smart audio. We just paste that in. Yeah, I think you don't have to hit use, but you can. I think it knows it's smart enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not guaranteed to work. It sounds like some people it's not working for, but also some people it is. So if you want to be able to use 452.
So then we load firmware online. It's compiling, and we flash that, and we see if that fixes it. Cute. All right. Good deal. Thank you for that, Blunty. I didn't know there was a fix. I've just been telling people flash back to 451.
Seems like that's probably also fine. I don't know how many bug fixes there really were in 452 that many people will be affected by.
No, but people are just, yeah, that's what I'm saying. People are just flashing the latest because it's the latest. Like, but I see what you're saying. You're not going to lose much by going back to 451 is what you're saying. You're probably right.
Yeah, yeah.
Where is the release note for 452? Bug fixes. Oh, there's a shitload of bug fixes.
Sure. Jeez. Well, there always are, but
fix motor spin while FC reset. That sounds like kind of a big deal. Anyway. All right. Moving on. This is why I really do live streams, is I wouldn't have known about that. Now I do, and somebody's going to be like, how did you know about that? And I'll be like, well, I just bitched on a live screen. That's you guys. I'm crowdsourcing all of the information. How'd you get so smart? Well, I just complain on a lot, and people tell me the answers. I want to see if you could, like, get a medical degree or an engineering degree. And everything you learn is just like, you just get on the internet on live stream. You're like, man, this guy's got SpO2 concentration of 87, and you just start reading off blood test results. Well, it's probably, and then you make a guess as to what it is, and then people are like, that's not what that is, and they correct you, and then you just go back. You go back in the room. Well, it looks like you've got cancer or whatever. And that's like how you just have your whole career is by being wrong on the internet and just crowdsourcing. It's good. Should do that. What's your thoughts on iFlight's new Borg series stack? They run an FPC cable between flight controllers. They claim to have a built-in capacitor, so don't need external ones. What's an FPC cable? Is that a mistype? What is an FPC? iFlight's always trying to do crazy shit like this. Sometimes it works. I mean, I like the idea. I'm sorry. You can't pause the question about the capacitor. You can't name this stack the Borg 5S. Hey, Blenty, what voltage does this stack take? What's the max voltage for this stack? What would be your immediate answer?
Whatever 5S is. Right?
5S. Yeah. You would assume it was rated for 5S. And then I say, what? That's stupid. Everyone's running 6S. What's the point of this stack? And then it turns out supports 4S to 8S battery inputs. And 5S is just the name. That would be like if I made a car. It's the new Honda Civic Diesel. And then people are like, what do you mean it takes gas? I thought it was a diesel. I'm like, no. That's just the name of the car. It's the diesel. You know, like, ooh, diesel. It's reliable. It doesn't take diesel fuel. You can't name this the 5S. That's... Ow. I hurt myself a little bit. I smacked myself in the head so hard. I was so gobsmacked about how dumb this was that I self-injured. Sorry. No need to call, report me to YouTube. Okay. Kill me sometimes. What's this cable? What's the deal with this cable?
A flat cable.
Okay, it's a flat cable. What does that mean? Why does that mean you don't need a capacitor? Is that just not related? External receivers. Yeah, I should hope it allows you to have external receivers. That's good. FPC cables ensure with this SH 1.0 Okay, so they have a custom cable for the flight controller to the ESC. I mean, here's the thing. I've never had an issue with my ESC cable, like, coming out. I have had issues with pins bending in the ESC connector. If this connector, I can't... What is an FPC connector? If it fixes the problem of pins bending, then it seems like that's less likely to bend pins. I could be okay with this. I'm okay with innovation as long as it has a purpose. I can't tell you how many times. I would say when I do, like, sometimes I do classes where I go somewhere and I teach people how to build drones. You know, it shouldn't surprise you that sometimes people are like, I like your videos. Will you come? We'll pay you and teach my employees how to build drones. And I would say that out of a class of, let's say, 10 people, 2 of them will consistently bend a pin when you plug the ESC into the flight controller. And I know you think I'm exaggerating, but I swear to God I'm not. These are people who have never built a drone before. So, like, they just take the SH connector and they just jam it in there, and they don't know how to, you know, feel it out and make sure you're not fucking it up. Okay? But that's a really common problem. Right? And then sometimes potentially you short circuit something, you fry the ESC, etc., etc. You know, so this is okay. I'm okay with this. This FPC connect. It's annoying that I will only be able to get a spare cable from INAV, although I guess FPC is a standard connector. I should probably buy it somewhere. This is a little annoying, but I could see an advantage there for some people.
It also means if you need to replace the ESC or FC, you have to buy theirs, right? It also means that if you have any, like, shaking or vibration, then the cable's not going to hold in because that locking connector sucks. Like, those are the 2 issues I see.
What do you mean the locking connector sucks?
They suck. They're not meant to hold. They're meant to go on a laptop, not hold any kind of pressure or vibration. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is the kind that, like, flips up. You don't plug it in. It kind of flips up and you flip it down.
It's like a snap-in. Yeah, it's like a snap-in. That's my understanding.
I mean, I think it's debatable as to whether it will hold or not.
That's going to be even worse, right? Because it doesn't have any pressure pushing it. Like, that's what I would think.
But isn't it supposed to be more secure?
Well, that's what they say.
It says right here, ensure secure connection. Okay, here's the thing. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they haven't done just a blatantly stupid thing and used a connector that's just going to fall open. I'm like not 100% convinced, but I'm like 60% convinced. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not just being blatantly stupid in choosing this connector. Blunty, you probably are at least, 40% on the other side of the equation, and like you're assuming that they are stupid because you're more cynical than I am sometimes.
I think companies like to do things that look cool or different or better, even if they're not.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? Why do they not? You're right. You're 100% right about you have to buy a spare from them because this fucking cable, is not compatible with anything else. And there isn't an SH to FPC connector. So they've locked you into their ecosystem. But, whatever. Whatever.
I guess what I'm asking is, what are we really fixing by this? Bending pins? That's literally it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because SH connectors are perfectly secure. I've never had an SH connector come out in flight that was properly inserted. Like, they're just 100% secure. They don't come out. I've never, never had one come out. They just, when you plug them in, they stay plugged in. That's just it. I don't know about the capacitor. They say you don't need a capacitor. I would probably run a capacitor anyway, just because I just don't try. I don't believe them. Where are the capacitors? Like, you can't get enough capacitance on this board. I don't even see capacitors on the board. Where are the capacitors? What am I missing? I don't even see it. So, no, I would run a capacitor.
Certainly not a bank. There's certainly not a bank like we would normally get, right?
Where do they say that you don't need a capacitor? I don't know. I don't buy it. Madstech points out you can damage an FPC cable just as easily by peeling back the tracks. Yeah. I would run a capacitor. Moving on. Thank you for €5 from Seoul. Outside of DJI, what's the best goggles? Is Avatar X worth it? If I wasn't allowed to buy DJI, Walksnail would be my next choice in terms of digital FPV systems. Yep. It's not as good as DJI. It's solidly better than analog. It has a good variety of cameras available. A nice variety. They have the gimbal that you can use for head tracking. It's a decent ecosystem. It's just in a world. It's just that DJI is better in almost every way, except that they're DJI, and maybe you don't like that for various reasons. So, yeah. I mean, what are your choices? It's Walksnail, DJI, or HD Zero. HD Zero is excellent for racing. It's good in some ways for long range because it's a one-way communication platform, not bidirectional, and that has some advantages. But in terms of range, penetration, and image quality, for sort of general fun flying, cruising, and bando style freestyle penetration, HD Zero loses to Walksnail and DJI. So I'd probably take Walksnail as my general purpose all round. And I would get the Goggles X. But I have to say, there are plenty of people in the world. There are plenty of people in the world who are perfectly happy with Walksnail. Don't take this the wrong way. But there are plenty of people in the world who are annoyed at Walksnail for not being as better as they thought they were going to be. They bought into Walksnail and they hoped that they were like, it's okay now, but I believe it's going to get better. And then it didn't really get any better. And meanwhile, DJI releases the O3 and the O4, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And there are plenty of people who bought into Walksnail and then were like, I don't know, I'm going to go DJI. And they're kind of annoyed and wish they had just done that in the first place. So you have to be careful that you might be one of those people. But if you have a good reason for not doing DJI, then Walksnail is the next one back. Can you use Walksnail with the SkyZone 040 Pro? Yes, any goggle with an HDMI input can work with the Walksnail video receiver. They have a standalone video receiver. You will get some reduction in performance. You'll get increased latency because you're coming in through the HDMI input, which adds a little bit of latency. So that's not good, because digital systems already have higher latency, but it's not like an absolute deal breaker. Send a question in the Discord, says Daisy FPV. Blunty, do you have that question handy? There it is. I got it. I cannot get my Blackbox to give me any logs. I have a Lucid H7 flight controller with an SD card. I'm using FAT32 formatted 32 gig new card. Betaflight takes a while to register it sometimes. When I try to go into mass storage mode, Betaflight just goes into DFU. It doesn't pop up with logs at all. So I go to the SD card, but Windows doesn't recognize it, asks me to format, and doesn't work. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what's happening here. I can tell you I have a Lucid H7 flight controller and have used Blackbox on it. I can personally report several of them working. So I don't know why yours isn't working. It's not like I can say, oh, this is a known issue. Here's what you need to do to fix it. I'm sorry to say you're the odd man out here. I certainly would try flashing a different version of Betaflight. It's worth a try. If you're on 452, go to 451. You just don't know. It might fix it. If you're on 451, go to 450 or go to 452. Just try that. Certainly try different SD cards. The fact that it goes into DFU mode when you try to go to the go into mass storage mode, that tends to point to the flight controller having some kind of an issue and not the SD card. But it's hard to say for sure. And then at the end of the day, I would reach out to TBS and see if TBS support can sort you out, because like that's the difference between TBS and some other companies that you might have bought from, is they actually do have pretty good aftermarket support. So I don't know. They always answer when I message them, right? Here's Eric. Did you have a specific? Oh, no. Yeah. Pootie Tang, thank you for a $2 super chat. Thank you for the donation. FPV Experience, thank you for 50 Norwegian kroner. What do you think about the TF Nova? What info can we get from it in OS? I don't know what the TF Nova is. What is a TF Nova? It's a laser line Lidar for accurate detection. What's going on with my screen here? Why is it grayed out? There we go. Oh, no, there's a pop-up. Oh, reject all. Okay. What info can we get from it in the OSD? No info at all. Can we get a live height from ground reading? Or is it just for pause hold? I don't know what this is for at all. This is a Lidar sensor. I wouldn't assume that Betaflight supports... INAV might support a Lidar. I don't know. I would assume that you'd need, like, some more advanced flight controller to do Lidar support. This is more than just, like, a rangefinder where you get height above ground. This is doing, like, a Lidar scan. It's trying to give you a profile, if you will, of the space.
Betaflight does support rangefinder.
It supports rangefinder, but it doesn't support, like, Lidar. This is a Lidar scanner.
That's Lidar. Well, I mean, the rangefinder is the include for Lidar. That's what I'm understanding from the GitHub.
If you say so. I mean, this feels to me
it
like
may only provide range based on something.
Right.
But
this feels like a very different kind of sensor. You know, it is going to give you a one-dimensional profile of an object. So it's going to take a slice out of an object and give you not just like here's the ground, but like over this beam width, here is what the object's distances are across this beam width. So, like, if I wanted a laser rangefinder or LiDAR rangefinder, I don't think I would choose this one. Although I'm certainly not an expert on the topic. I would buy a LiDAR rangefinder. Right?
I definitely would. No, there's, like, way cheaper sensors than that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah, so, like, here is a LiDAR distance sensor. So my point is that this is not a distance sensor. It can probably give distance information, but it does more than that. And so it's like going to be more expensive and more complicated to use than just detecting range. I would get a dedicated distance sensor.
Sorry, I just want to be clear that sensor that we looked at before, I do not believe is supported in Betaflight because it's based on the sensor. It's not just a standard, right? So there's as of 2024, there were 3, which was the HC-SR-O4, and then there are 2 Benewakes that are also supported.
Oh, here we go. Supported sensors. We were just here earlier in the stream. Yeah, there we go. Here are the 3 rangefinders that Betaflight supports. So I guarantee you that Betaflight doesn't support the TF Nova, although Betaflight isn't. You're probably on INAV or ArduPilot if you're doing LiDAR rangefinder. Yeah. Yeah, so like this guy says it's better to use this, but it doesn't actually say if ArduPilot supports it. Anyway, what do you think about it? What info can we get from it? I think you fundamentally misunderstood the purpose of this device. If you want to do live height from ground, you want a rangefinder. And Betaflight has minimal support for rangefinders, but it does have some support. Let's see. I would want, like, what's the distance for this one? Ultrasonic distance sensor, 4 meters of non-contact measurement. That's fine. You can get some that have up to, like, 100 feet of distance sensing. What's this one? 40 meters? That's pretty good. Does it say 40 meters?
It looks like they've added...
Yeah.
It looks like they've added the one he asked about in 4.6, but it still only supports range.
Yeah. And it seems like overkill. It's like, I don't know how expensive that is, but it seems like it is overkill for what you want. You just want a distance sensor, and so something cheaper and simpler will probably work. So this one will get you up to 40 meters at 90% reflectivity, so maybe a little less, but that's pretty good. And the idea is that once you're more than, say, 20 or 30 meters off the ground, your exact altitude isn't that important, and you can just use a GPS. But that's the direction I would go.
I found another PR for it.
I was not sharing my screen, sorry.
I found another PR for it.
Yeah.
It looks like actually they have added ways for It doesn't look like it's like actually supported by anything in Betaflight right now, but they've added support to the code base to allow people to access the other functions in a lookup table for that device.
That's cool.
That's interesting. Yeah. I don't know if you can do anything with it right now, but I would guess as this 4.6 comes out and then other people want to do these projects, you might see more of that added.
Interesting. Madstech, once again, coming in clutch. Madstech says that INAV and I guess Betaflight support using Lidar like that for range finding, but ArduPilot fully supports Lidar and range finding with a radar view. So ArduPilot could actually give you in the OSD like a drawing of the profile it's detecting. And Blunty points out that Betaflight does support the TF Nova in 4.6, but what it can actually do with it remains to be seen. Nevertheless, the support is being added to Betaflight. All right. In Betaflight, how do I change the core temp warning threshold? Thank you for $5. Crispy Drip. Good question. I don't know, but let's see if we can find out. What we're going to do is connect to Betaflight, and we're going to go into the CLI, and I'm just going to type get temp, because I'm guessing that that's what it would have it in. Here's the ESC temp alarm. Here we go. Bingo. OSD core temp alarm. Bingo. That's it. That's got to be, I'm guessing the threshold is 70 degrees Celsius. I'm guessing it's the degrees Celsius. So that's what I would change. Set OSD core temp alarm equals 80. And just in case that's a mystery to you, again, I'll show you how I did that. I just went to the CLI and I typed get temp because I just guessed that it would have the word temp in it. And actually, if you have autocomplete enabled, you'll see it right here. OSD core temp alarm. You know, I could have typed get CPU. Oh, that's not it. It's not there. MCU. No, it's not there. I'm just trying to guess terms. I type get temp, and there it is. OSD core temp alarm. And then I type set OSD underscore core temp alarm. There we go. I could just click it on the autocomplete. Equals 80. And type the word save. And that's how I would do it. What will cause my Chimera Pro V2 to freak out under full throttle, but it'll hover fine? Asks Lightbulb. Thank you for a $20 super chat, Lightbulb. That's a very generous super chat. Really appreciate it. I wish that I had a more reliable answer for you. I guess, Lightbulb, what does a freak out look like? That's my first question. What does it mean? Does it mean like full throttle flyaway? Death roll? What does it mean? Because that, you know, a death roll is different than a full throttle flyaway. And I would like to say, and generally, and I know you guys are doing your best. This is not, please don't take this the wrong way. When you describe, see again, when you describe what your drone is doing, you got to be more specific. You said freak out. Freak out doesn't tell me anything except it's doing something you don't want. And then I asked for clarification and Lightbulb said uncontrolled spaz out. Spaz out is not, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, there we go. It immediately crashes, it flips. Okay, boom. That's the first thing that actually describes how the drone is moving, what it's doing. And I know you guys are doing your best, right? In some cases, like there's terminology you may not know, like death roll has a specific meaning, right? And but like when you're trying to get troubleshooting help, try to describe what the drone is doing. Like when I arm my drone, it freaks out. Okay, that's only minimally helpful. When I arm my drone, it hops up in the air and flips over, whatever. You have to be descriptive. Anyway, it flips. Okay, so if it is you go to full throttle and it just immediately goes and tumbles into the ground. We would call that a death roll. Usually that means that a motor has desynced. You have a problem with desync on the motors. One of the motors stops making thrust, and then the quad just spins into the ground. This may be accompanied by the word runaway in your on-screen display, and the quad will automatically disarm itself. Not always, but sometimes. The first thing I look for when I have death rolls is whether it always rolls the same direction. So if you have DVR of this happening multiple times, then does it always roll front and to the left, back and to the right, etc.? If it always rolls the same direction, it points to that motor or ESC as being damaged. It's the one that goes down. So if it rolls back and to the right, that's the back right motor. If it rolls back and to the left, that's the back left motor, etc. And then what you do is you replace that motor, because maybe it got damaged somehow, I don't know. And then if that doesn't fix it, you start thinking about replacing the ESC, which sucks. And you don't throw out any of this stuff, because sometimes that doesn't fix it, and it turns out it was something else, and now you have spares. But the alternative is if it goes random directions, and then that doesn't point to a single motor or ESC, it starts to point to the flight controller as having an issue, although it's harder to pin down. The very, very first thing I would check is the capacitor. Has the capacitor broken loose? Because when the capacitor breaks loose, you get increased electrical noise, and that can cause all kinds of weird problems that are hard to pin down. So, anyway. Stickflick FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Why does my OSD for altitude start flashing as soon as I go over 100 feet? Because, well, first of all, it's not 100 feet. It's probably 100 meters. But it's flashing because it thinks you're at an unsafe height. Is there a way to disable that? Pretty annoying. Yeah, like the idea is that legally you're not allowed to fly over a certain altitude, and so it's trying to help you by warning you that you're above that altitude. If we go to the OSD tab, right here is the altitude warning. Let me zoom in a little bit. Here in the alarms is the altitude. It's 100, and it's 100 of whatever units you have selected. So in my case, it's metric units, so it's 100 meters. If I went to imperial, it would be 100 feet. Okay? So yeah, change that to whatever you want. I don't know. Can I disable it? I'm just going to set it to 9999999 and see what happens. Save. There we go. So now that's the maximum possible value. And so now it will never blink at me. Great. Done. Why do most freestylers post with no music, just high thrust motor sound? Because motors sound awesome. Because we want to hear the motors. That's like saying, why do people at a drag racing track not put music over their drag runs? We want to hear the motors. The motors are interesting. It's not necessarily that we love the sound of motors, although we kind of do. But hearing the motors tells you things about what the quad is doing and the throttle is doing. By listening to the sound of the motors, we can tell what the dude is doing with the throttle. So I can watch the drone move, and I can tell what he's doing with the sticks, although stick cam is helpful. But hearing the motors gives me information about what it's like. If I'm watching a car go around a curve and I hear the tires start to squeal, I know that the guy is at the limit of adhesion, and I have an idea about what he's doing and what the car is doing, right? If the guy slams on the brakes and I just hear whoosh, versus if I hear little chirps of the tires, I know that he's hitting those brakes super hard. It's telling me information about what the vehicle is doing. When I hear the motors of the quad, that's telling me information about what the quad is doing. And as a pilot, I feel more in tune with what the pilot's doing when I hear the motors. When you fly, you hear the motors of your quad, and like the very first time you fly far enough away that you can't hear the motors anymore, which you would never do because it's probably not legal. But the very first time you fly far enough away, you can't hear the motors anymore. It's super disorienting. Because, like, you hit the throttle, and you're used to hearing beep, choop, 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 as you're moving around, and suddenly you don't. And you're just like, I don't know, what are my motors doing? I can't hear it. So. Yeah. Music is fine, too. But, yeah. Some people do music. That's fine. A lot of it's probably just laziness. They just don't want to go find music for the track. They just want to post their awesome video. But I like hearing the motors. Scott Perry, thank you for a $10 super chat. Just flashed 451 fix smart audio. Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah, that old Mach 2 fix, that's old. That's not needed anymore, I don't think, in Betaflight. There was an old version of Betaflight, like 4.2, that needed that fix, but now the fix is in, so it's all good. That's always what I used to do, Brooklyn. I like hearing the motors. If I'm going to do music, I'm going to put music and motors, for sure. Natter FPV has a question in the Discord. Thank you for a $5 super chat, and thank you for being a patron. If you're in the Discord, it means you're in a patron, so I really appreciate your support. I bought a Hummingbird V3 and I have turtle mode enabled, but when my drone flips over and I switch on turtle mode, it seems like it doesn't have enough power to flip back over. Okay, this is a common problem with micro drones like 65mm whoops, that they just don't have a lot of power to flip over. Sometimes you can overcome this by really jamming the stick. Like, instead of going slowly, if you just kind of stab at the stick, you'll get more momentum and you'll flip it over. But I've had this problem, especially on smooth floors, where it just doesn't have enough power to flip over.
I put a CLI command in the Discord.
Yeah.
There's a CLI command called crashflip_motor_%. If you set that to a value, that brings the third and fourth motor on to help you flip in the other direction. So if it's a 0, you'll get 2 motors like normal turtle. But if you go up to like 50, it'll bring the third and fourth motors on at 50% to help you push the other way around.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of just using 2 motors and kind of going like this, it brings the other motors in, so it kind of lifts the whole thing up.
No, the other way. Yeah, the other two. Yeah, your other hand goes the other way.
Motors?
To actually flip it. It tries to flip it. That's my understanding of how it works.
Does it reverse the motors?
Yes, that's just like you're in normal versus turtle. So one's reversed and one side's reversed and one side's not. So one pushes down, one pushes up, and it tries to actually flip the drone over.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not pushing the quadcopter up, but more on this side so it flips over. It's pushing down and up and counter torquing.
That's my understanding, yes.
Wow. I didn't know that. We learn something new every day. Crash flip motor %. Shut up. There's a crash flip expo? There's a crash flip expo setting. You guys can't see this.
4.4 or 4.5.
I did a whole video about adding expo to turtle mode in OpenTX. And you're telling me that there's a crash flip expo setting built into Betaflight that adds expo to your sticks when you're in crash flip mode. How about that? Okay, so what you want to do is set crash flip motor % to some higher value and see how that works.
Oh, helpful piece of info from Captain Bry. Crash flip expo is removed in 4.6.
Okay, well, my video is still relevant. I did what Bardwell just said, and it still doesn't flip over. I'm sorry, I don't think anything's wrong with your drone. I just think 65mm tiny whoops suck at turtle mode. But I mean, like, I'm surprised that yours just doesn't work at all, because usually, like, I can get it to work, but I'm not surprised. I'm not, like, completely surprised. And I don't think there's anything wrong with your drone. I think just 65mm whoops kind of suck at turtle mode. All right. Oh, we're caught up on Super Chats. Hell yeah. MadSec just figured out what shirt I'm wearing. Again, if you love my shirt or FPV apparel in general, check out Rect. We'll give them one more plug since Madstech brought it up. Rect has a whole bunch of fun FPV t-shirts. Thank you, Rect, for sending me this shirt. Okay. Change your canopy for better results in turtle mode. That's a good point. Depending on the height of the canopy, some may be better at flipping at others. I don't see why rates should matter. When you're in turtle mode, I don't think rates matter. If you're on a smooth hardwood floor, that's why it won't flip. It'll just slide. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the questions. Going back to the questions. What GPS would you recommend for a sub 250 build? HDLRC M100 mini GPS is fine. I would probably get the Flywoo Nano GPS. Just because I've used it before. It's very small and it works okay. Actually, I got like a lot of satellites with it. I don't know if I was just lucky. But the Flywoo Nano GPS is very small and has decent performance. So, it's a thought. Huh. I wonder what that is. Yeah, look how tiny it is. It's very small. It's going to keep that weight down. The Flywoo Micro GPS is not that much bigger or heavier. Where is it? Maybe I've misnamed it. Nano V3, Nano GPS, Mini GPS, Pro GPS. So the Nano is, let's see if I can get a weight on this. 2.2 grams versus 4.7 grams. So it's 3 grams heavier. 2.2 to 4.7. A little more than, yeah, it's around 2, 3, 4. Yeah, around 3 grams heavier. So I don't know if that's a make or break for you. But the Mini GPS has a little bit better performance and a plug instead of a solder pad, which you might like. But the Nano is nice as well. So, it looks like 3.1 gets rid of the compass, whereas the V3 actually has a compass. That's very cool. The Mini does not have a compass. And then, yeah, this one does have a compass, so you could even get one with a compass if you wanted to. What's the best lithium-ion cell for FPV? Is it the EVE 50 PL with 125 amp continuous output? That's... I'm not familiar with that one. That's impressive. 125 amps? Shut up. I'm extremely suspicious. 5,000 milliamp hour character. I mean, it's hard for me to believe in that specification, to be honest with you. It's 21700? 5,000 milliamp hours. You just check my math here. It's a 25C. That's pretty extraordinary. Even for a 2175. I'd love to see somebody test this. If so, that's pretty impressive. What you wanna know about cells is that there is an inverse relationship between energy density and C rating. So, and this is like, I was out once upon a time at Upgrade Energy, at their facility. I visited them and talked about batteries and stuff. They were on the way home from a trip and we thought it was worth seeing. So they make batteries out of individual cells, and they know a lot about cells and so forth. And what he told me was that there is an inverse relationship between energy density and C rating. In other words, a battery with a higher energy density will always have a worse C rating and vice versa. And I was like, is that like an actual, like, is that like a rule of thumb, or is that like a hard physical constraint? And he said it's a hard physical constraint, that a cell that has high energy density is made in a different way than a cell that has a high C rating. It has to do with the internal structure of the battery. And basically the things that make a cell have a high C rating take up more space in the cell and make you have a lower energy density. So if this cell does in fact have 125, like, you kind of can't have it both ways, right? We've got a 21700 with 5000 milliamp hours, which is the nominal, it's about the same milliamp hours, so about the same energy density as anything else, but a higher C rating. What have they done to achieve that C rating? Is there something different in the chemistry of the cell, right, to get that higher C rating? Which that would you know, be a way to sort of break that relationship. What makes it so special? Data sheet. Let's see if we can find a data sheet. A data sheet may give us more information. $4,900 milliamp hours. So we're, yeah. Rated discharge capacity, 2.5 volt cutoff. Charging voltage, 4.2 volts. So this isn't a silicon anode, which would have a 3.4 volt nominal voltage. That's a standard lithium ion with a graphite anode, I think. Max discharge current, 9.8 amps. That's, wait, is this the correct cell? INR 21700. Is this a wrong cell? This says 9 amps. That's not right. I must be the wrong cell, damn. I can't find the data sheet. I want to find the data sheet for this cell. I can't find it. Eve Energy North America. Here we go. Cell model 50E. Come on, buddy. Give me the data sheet. Hell yeah! I found it. I'm so proud of myself. Let's see here. Energy density. Well, the fact that they have a data sheet suggests that they're at least a little bit legit. Charge characteristics, cycle life characteristics, discharge temperature characteristics, discharge rate characteristics. Here we go. That's just 3C. That doesn't tell me anything. Where are we getting that this is a 125 amp battery? Who is saying that? I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I feel like we're hitting a brick wall here. So I would like to know more about this cell, right? If you show me, here's the thing. If you show me, if most 217-500s have, let's say, a 50 amp discharge capacity, so the standard is 5,000 milliamp hours at 50 amps. If you show me one that has significantly higher discharge rate, I expect it to have lower energy density. And if it doesn't, that means that there's something they've done to that cell to make it different internally to break that rule, and I want to know what it is. For example, silicone anode cells, like the ones made by Amprius, they use silicone instead of graphite in the anode, and that lets them have approximately 2 to 3 times the energy density of a graphite anode, a traditional graphite anode battery. So when I see an Amprius cell and it claims to have significantly higher energy density, so for example, a 21700 would be 15,000 milliamp hours instead of 5,000 milliamp hours, roughly. I go, okay, well, I know how you did that. You used a silicon anode, and that has its own pros and cons. In this case, we've got a 21700 cell that is claiming to have an extraordinarily high discharge rate. Wait a minute. It says 1C, 3C.
Yeah, you're on 50E. It's 50 PL. That's the problem.
Well, where the frick is it?
There's no data sheet that I can find for this brand.
Okay, well...
Ships late June 2025 and has been tested by a few people on YouTube.
Okay. If it's been tested publicly and it backs up the specs, that's something. Okay, but I'd still like to see a data sheet and know what they're doing. Nevertheless, let's answer the actual question that was asked. If it's got 125 amp discharge, does that mean this will basically replace a LiPo? And the answer is kinda, yeah. Especially if I do a 2P. If I do a 2P, so, like 6S2P, which is a fairly heavy pack, but it's going to be right for some applications. That means I'm going to get 250 amps continuous discharge. And in reality, that's probably not what I'm going to get, but that's more than enough to fly a freestyle drone off of. So very interesting. I'd be interested to try it out. All right, let's move on. Let's save that link. The new king of 21700 cells. Blunty's showing some links in the Discord. Thank you, Blunty, for looking those up. Get FPV has your sub 250 build in stock now. Yes, it does. Blunty, can you prioritize putting this out on the Clips channel just because I feel like I owe it to them to do promotion? I should probably put it on my main channel. Sub 250 it's in stock. It's in stock. We finally got the shipment in. The tariff situation finally relaxed enough that we could afford to import them. It is in stock now. Yay! If you've been waiting for it to be in stock, it finally is. Oh my God, look at that. Take a picture. It won't last long. In stock now. Fantastic. How about the HD ready? Heck yeah. In stock. Amazing. Amazing. Such good news. Then Blunty, like 2 weeks later, just take it down from the Livestream Clips channel because it won't be in stock anymore. But there we go. How do I get motor sound from my Walksnail system? You don't. It doesn't have any support for audio. In theory, you could put a different camera, like a RunCam Thumb or an Insta360 Go, a little high-def camera that can record audio, and then you would sync the audio in post. That's a thing you could do. So, yeah. But other than that, there's just no option. How come I have to lower my ramp-up power so my AOS Supernovas don't desync on BL32? 8S quad motors. Anytime you go to 8S, you often have to adjust your ESC settings because the ESCs are typically tuned on 6S, right? Anytime you go to 8S, you typically have to modify the settings. So I'm not like surprised. You're like, well, why? Why do I have to do it? I don't know. But I'm not surprised that you end up with desyncs on 8S. And if you adjust the ramp-up power and that fixes it, great, problem solved. I'm still having desyncs. Why does that fix it and why does that hinder flight? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Blunty.
I just wanted to say, like, if you're new, don't build 8S, please.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many messages like lately with people building 8S and having desyncs or issues with their builds or frying components. It's just not, it's expensive and it's not any use for some, especially someone new. If you don't know why you need it, you don't need it. If you want to go faster, use a higher kV motor. Like, please stop building 8S. That's what I'm asking.
Now, here's what I'm confused about, though. Ramp-up power. Is ramp-up power only used at startup, Blunty? And is there a separate setting for acceleration?
No, I think ramp-ups used the whole time, right?
Well, I don't know.
Bardwell, and we're going to learn something today. This video is one in a series I did with my basically across the board.
It's been a long time since I thought about this option, but a long, long time ago, I sat down with Ryan Harrell and we went through all the BLHeli options.
Controls the change that is allowed in the duty cycle of the PWM.
Okay, so it's all the time.
So it's basically saying any single
nice
jump.
shirt,
Hang on, hold on. So the duty cycle of the PWM, could we make an analogy that that's essentially like the throttle as you're stepping on the accelerator on your car?
It's how long the FET is driven on per cycle.
Oh, look, and Ryan says, startup power can be really critical on high voltage, high torque setups. Current spikes can get problematic on some of those setups. Feedback can often contribute to desyncs. Reducing startup power is a good preventive measure on high voltage setups. 6 years ago, this comment comes in clutch right now. So startup power, number one, it's used all the time, not just ramp up power. Yes. Yeah. Startup power is used when you first kick the motor into spinning from a stop. Ramp up power is the change in throttle. It's how fast the throttle is allowed to change. And if ramp up power is too high on a high voltage motor, then when you kick the throttle from low to high, you'll get excessive feedback and it will cause potentially desyncs. And reducing ramp up power is essential in. So you stumbled across the exact right solution to the problem. Maybe it was this video itself that taught you to do that. So. Let's see here. Can I charge a 6S LiPo with an ISDT 608 AC while hiking with a power bank? I mean, what I would do, I wouldn't use like a power bank. I would use a battery. I would get a LiPo battery. But here's the thing. Stop. Full stop. Just buy more batteries. Okay? You're going to go out and you're going to spend $100. Like, let's do the math. Like, if I were to buy a battery to charge with, I would get, like, yeah, this is a good one. The Luminaire NAV, Luminaire batteries are kind of pricey. How much is the GEP RC? 18650, 6000, 6000 milliamp hour. Okay. Like, I would get something like this just as a starting point. Okay. Come on, click through. 150 bucks. Okay, so let's do some math. This is a 6,000. So I would buy a battery like this. I would plug it into the charger and then I would charge off it. Okay. That's what I would do. It'll plug right into the back of the charger. But hang on. This is 6,000 milliamp hours. This is a 6S battery, and we're probably charging 6S batteries. So let's say that this is we have a 5-inch drone with 1,500 milliamp hour batteries. Okay, you with me? That's what we're flying with. This is 6,000 milliamp hours divided by 1,500 milliamp hours. You're going to be able to charge those batteries approximately 4 times. 4 times with this. Okay. So $150 divided by 4, that's your break-even point where it makes more sense just for you to just buy 4 more batteries. $37. Are your flight packs less than $37? And it's a little bit unfair because, like, you're not going to fully discharge the batteries. So maybe you'll get, like, perhaps you'll get as much as 5 recharges off this 6,000 milliamp hour. Maybe. So, okay, 150 divided by 5. Your break-even point is $30. My point is this. Whenever you're thinking about field charging, it almost always makes more sense to just buy more batteries than to buy a charging pack and charge your flight packs off the charging pack. Now, if you are going somewhere and you have a generator, or if you're going somewhere and somebody is bringing like a Jackery, like a big battery, and you know you'll be able to charge off that because somebody else is already bringing it, that's fine. If you have another reason to buy this 6,000 milliamp hour. Like you have a 7-inch drone and you fly with this 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and like today you're going out to fly the 5-inch and you bring this battery as a field charging pack because you had it anyway. That makes sense. But if you're specifically going to buy a battery for the purpose of field charging, you should just almost always just buy more flight packs and charge them before you leave and not worry about field charging. That's my opinion. Some people are arguing that the charging pack will last longer because you're not putting as many use cycles on it as you are the flight packs. You're right about that. Yep. But how many times have you run a flight pack to death by charging and discharging it? Too many times. I can't remember the last time I killed a pack because I just used it until it got bad. I almost always kill packs either by crashing and just blowing them up, or because I just over discharge them because I lost track of time and I just run them down below 3.0 volts. So you're not wrong. In my opinion, field charging, you're carrying this big heavy pack. You're carrying this 6,000 milliamp hour or 10,000 milliamp hour LiPo, and it's just taking up space that I could be using on flight packs. And maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't. And I got to carry the charger with me, and then I got to land, and I got to put the batteries on the charger, and then they're going to take a half hour to charge, right? So maybe I run out of batteries anyway while I'm waiting for them to charge, and it's just like kind of not worth it. If you can get a cheap field charging pack, then it starts to make sense. If you already have a field charging pack for some reason, like a high milliamp hour, high density pack, then it makes sense. But if you're buying one specifically for that purpose, I don't think it's worth it. 10x FPV says I fly 30 plus packs per session. Okay, like if you're going to fly 30 packs per session, you kind of need to field charge. All right. I accidentally cold soldered my BT 2.0 connector on my board. Can I use it? No, fix it. You know it's a cold solder. Fix it. Will the solder used on drones work to resolder a LiPo cable back on? Seem to remember, yeah, solder is solder. Should I buy the Radio Master GX12? I like it. It's my daily driver. I think it's a really good mix of small form factor while still having, good ergonomics. I still use it as my daily driver, even though I kind of wish the gimbals were a little bit more premium feeling. And I kind of wish the screen was a little bigger. Is there any reason I can't test my quad's range by having a friend go a few kilometers away with it, plug my quad in, and just arm it from a different location? Sure. I mean, why not? Why not just fly it? If you're going to do that, why not just fly it until you fail safe and then go pick it up? Wouldn't that make more sense? Whatever. Yeah, you could do that. Let's see here. What's your thoughts on the iFlight store and the kit they have for sale? I mean, iFlight makes good stuff in general. You're specifically asking about this product, $1,250. This is not just a drone, man. This is a drone with a set of G3 goggles and a controller. This is a combo. So like these goggles are $500 or whatever. I don't know what the actual price is. Let's look. Oh, wow, that sucks. The DJI store says not available in your country region. Wow, the chickens are coming home to roost. I think I heard about this, but I hadn't seen it myself. Oh, man, alive.
Well, I think the assumption is they're discontinuing Goggles 3. Because Goggles N3 you can purchase no problem on DJI to US.
What do you mean discontinuing the G3? That's the latest and greatest.
No, the N3 is the latest and greatest. Remember?
The N3 is the cheap option.
I mean...
Are you for real? No, they are not discontinuing the G3.
If you go to DJI's website, you can buy the N3 no problem, and Goggles 3 says not available in your country region. So that seems pretty suspicious to me. That's what I would say.
Well, why would it be region, tied to the region? DJI Goggles 3, $500.
They're just out of Goggles 3. They're just not, that's what I'm saying.
Why does it just say out of stock? No.
Because it's DJI. That's the same thing they did with the Goggles V2, and that's the same thing they did with the Goggles 2, isn't it?
I don't know.
I definitely know the V2 at some point showed not in your region when they discontinued. I'm 99%
I just can't believe they're discontinuing the Goggles 3, Blunty. That's their flagship goggle right now. The N3 is not a flagship goggle. I agree. I just don't think they're discontinuing it. That would surprise the fuck out of me. I think they're having trouble making it. Anyway, regardless, the Goggles 3 is $500. So you've got this drone, and you're like, $1,250. That's a $500 goggle. That's a $100-ish controller, so $600, and that's a $500 or $600 drone. Comes with the O3, I think, maybe the O4. I don't know. But yeah, that's a completely fair price for those things. I mean, you may not think it's fair. You may decide it's not worth it. But that is not that is not out disproportionate to the market as a whole and what other people are charging. I think you mistakenly thought that was just the drone and not the whole kit. Like you can find cheaper, but it's not like ridiculously out of line with the market. Let's get a couple more super chats out of the way. I want to build, UAV Video asks, I want to build a 5-inch quad for rally chasing, easily 130 mile an hour capable, GoPro if possible. What do you recommend? I don't recommend a 5-inch for that application. You can get a 5-inch that'll go 130 miles an hour. It's going to have an extremely short flight time and not be ideal for chasing vehicles. I would recommend like a 7-inch with 1700 kV motors, 28 millimeter to 30 millimeter motors. So like 2806 or something like that, maybe 2907. I don't know. Yeah. So high kV for a 7-inch is like 1700 kV. Will it go 130 miles an hour? I'm not sure. 130 is kind of up there. Like up to 90 or 100 miles an hour, it's fairly easy. You might need a higher kV motor, perhaps. Sunshine says, DJI has publicly stated they are not selling or shipping to the U.S. until the trade issue is settled. The N3s just happen to be in stock at DJI distributors in the U.S. for now. Once they sell all of them, they will not be available either. That rings more true to me than that the G3, which is like a year old, is being discontinued. I would guess. I would think it's related to the trade dispute. I don't know if that's right, but it sort of rings more true. If you wanted me to be more confident that you could hit 130 miles an hour easily, like saying I want something that can easily hit 130 miles an hour is non-trivial. Like that's in the range where you've always got some engineering challenge, okay? But I think it's doable to build. I would like start with a 7-inch, maybe a 7-inch with like 2000 kV motors, although those are going to be hard to find. Maybe go with an 8S battery on 1700 kV. Maybe that would get you there. But I think 5-inch is going to be such short flight time that I don't think it's going to cover it for you. Morton Upshot says 1900 is common. I would do that. Let's see. What's a good 7-inch motor? AOS has a motor, right? They have a 7-inch, 2207. 2207. Don't they have a 28 millimeter motor? It's all the 2207s. 2207. Doesn't AOS have a what about iFlight? They have a 29 millimeter motor for their Chimera, I believe. FPV motors. Uh, 2809. That's got potential. 2806.5. That's not as good. I'd like the 2809 better. I wish I could like sort by size. 3110. Ooh. 2807. 2809. Yeah, 3115. Let's look at these motors. 3114. Interesting degradations there. Zing E. 2809. 3110. Let's see what we can get here. These motors are all in the rough size range. That's good. 2814. Interesting. A rough size range that would be good for like 7-inch props. 3314. That's probably overkill. 3616. That's probably overkill too. But you never know. Let's look. 2809 only goes up to 1600 kV. That's not going to get you the speed that you want, I don't think. Not on 6S. Maybe if you ran it on 8S, you could get there. 2806.5, 1800 kV, and again, that's a little small. If you're going to be pushing high speeds, you're going to have a lot of heat buildup. So I would take the extra mass of the 2809 over the 2806.5. It's going to have, yeah, so that's out. 3110. Doesn't say what kV it is, but it's made for a 10-inch prop, so it's probably lower kV. That's probably not going to work on a 7-inch, and it doesn't even say what kV it is, right? How do you not say what kV it is? You have to give me the specs. I don't give a shit about your proprietary bullshit. You got some secret. All I need to do is put it on a multimeter and spin the bell, and I'll know what the kV is. So why don't you just put the frickin' kV on the frickin' product page? You frickin' maroons. There we go. Thank you. Why was it not on the product page? 900 kV is too low a kV. That's not going to cut it. For a 7-inch prop, that's not going to cut it. 2807, again, no kV. Test report, 1300, too low. Not going to give us the speed we want. 1250 kV, too low. 900 kV, too low, too low. Too low, 1250 kV, not going to cut it, not going to cut it, not going to cut it. So, yeah, the 3000 motors are just going to be too low a kV for a 7-inch prop. So I feel like, where are we going to get a 1900 kV motor? Who makes a 1900 or 2000 kV in the 28 millimeter size? Chat, Blunty, keep an eye on the chat for me, please. Somebody's going to pop one up. Shop all motors by size, 7-inch prop. No, not propellers, you dip. Motors and props. I guess just all motors, fine. KV, perfect. Well, that's not... First of all... 700 to
quite
19.
a few people in chat making suggestions.
Yeah, what do we got? What do we got?
Luminaire Zip 2807. We've got T-Motor F90, and we've got Brother Hobby Adventure.
Oh, the old classic. Brother Hobby. Does Luminaire Zip 20... Where is it? 900 kV. 3150, 1050 kV. Brother Hobby Avenger 2812, 2810. Yeah. I'm clearly busting out. Lumineer Zip V2 2807. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. 1950 kV. Okay, that's one of the highest kV 28 millimeters. So that's a potential. That's a potential. Brother Hobby Avenger 3008. Very nice. That's a good one. That 3008 is going to be a bigger motor with more ability to soak heat, and that kV is in the range of what we're looking for. Again, not promising you this will get you to 130 miles an hour, but it's going to get you as close as anything. Yeah. T-Motor F80. That's a good one. The F80 is, I don't know the exact dimensions. It's a 2408. I'd be worried that 2408 is not going to cut it for 7-inch, especially if we're pushing 1900 kV. I would worry that that small of a motor is not going to perform well on a 7-inch prop. Yeah, it's too small of a motor in my humble opinion. Although you can get a 2200 kV version, so maybe you would try it, but I think you'd burn the motors. The F90, let's try the F90. What kV is the F90 available in? 2806.5 is in the right size. Oh, 1950 kV. Okay, so the F90 at 1950 kV, T-Motor. This is like going to be near the top of my list. It could be a little bigger, but T-Motor does make a really good motor. 2812 versus 2806. Huh. That's not the right size. That's not the right kV. 3008, 1900 kV. 2806, 1950. I mean, the Avenger, I think I would feel better about the Avenger because it's a much bigger motor. It's going to have much more torque and much more heat dissipation. I would probably get the Avenger over the F90 just because of the size. So, Supernova 2807, 1400 kV is too low a kV to niche HH. Okay, let's wrap this up. That should give you some idea of what to search for, and good luck. The bottom line is that you're probably going to need to either find someone who has done that exact thing before, or you're going to need to just do some testing. But that's where I would start. Okay, moving on. Let's Logic, thank you for a $5 super chat. My Zoro broke. I bought a new one, added my bind phrase, no good. They responded to the beep switch only. Don't refer me to the video, please. Busy, no time. Okay, I was with you until, I'm torn because thank you for the super chat. He paid $5 for a super chat. You contributed. But this whole, don't refer me to a video. Just tell me what to do. I'm busy. I have no time. Oh, I'm sorry. For a $5 super chat, I'll give you a few minutes of my time. But if a video has the answer, then go look at the video. Or, here's the thing. If you're so busy you have no time, you could buy an hour of time with Blunty, and Blunty will get on the phone with you, get on a Zoom chat with you, and literally hold your hand and walk you through the troubleshoot. Right? Although with your attitude of, I'm too busy for this, he may actually be no, I don't want to talk to that guy. So, I don't know, Blunty, would you take this guy's money? Or is he, if you
are initial contact message with it. Depends on how you contact me.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You would at least take his phone call, though.
Yeah.
Added my bind phrase, no good. So the only answer there is that you didn't put the bind phrase in correctly. But then you're saying they're responding to the beep switch. So that means they are bound. So why is the other shit not working? Unfortunately, I can't. I don't have enough information to give you a definitive answer. right? This is not like, oh yeah, you have to disable the beep switch option and then it'll work. No problem. Problem solved. This is not like that. If they're responding to the buzzer switch at all, it's not something like model match. You should at least have stick movement. So what you need to do is look in the receiver tab. Do you have stick movement at all? Maybe you didn't set up the aux switches on your new radio, and so your arm switch isn't working, right? So maybe the radio's not set up. You didn't copy the model. By the way, if you take the SD card out of your Zoro, your broken one, and copy the entire contents of the SD card to the new Zoro, your models and settings will transfer over. So that's hopefully a useful piece of information. So my guess is your model isn't set up, but my guess is that you are bound, and you will have solid LED on the receiver, and you'll have movement of the sticks, but not the aux modes. That's my guess. He says, wasn't trying to be rude. No problem. Sometimes the short chat means that some things come off differently than you intended. I copied my old SD card to my computer and tried to copy it to the new one, and it didn't work. Okay. I mean, that's a separate issue. Like, this really feels like the kind of thing where it would be good if someone was looking over your shoulder, like, and seeing exactly what you're doing and how it's not working. I don't think it's here's the thing. I would go to the receiver tab and see if the sticks move, and that will confirm that, like, you're bound. And when you hit the buzzer, confirm that the aux channel goes high and low when you hit the buzzer, and then see if any of the other switches move the aux channels. Because my guess is that you haven't set the aux channels up, and that what you need to do is copy your models and settings over to the new SD card. When you say the new SD card, you tried to copy it and it didn't work. What didn't work? What happened? Right? If you want to get some one-on-one help, Blunty's rate is $50 an hour, which I think is more than fair for the quality of instruction he brings to the table. And as you know, he'll be available at 3 p.m. I presume, Blunty, you're available if this guy wants to reach out to you. No?
Yeah, not today, but we can schedule something. If you message me on Discord, it's Blunty.
Okay. At It's Blunty, ITSBLUNTY. He can help you out. But that's what I would do. Go to the receiver tab and verify that the aux channels are moving, and that will start getting you down the track of why it's not working. It sounds like they are bound. Can you just take the... Yeah, Morton Upshot. Morton Upshot for the obvious here. Well done, sir. You get the duh award of the day. Can you just take the old SD card out of the broken Zoro and put it in the new radio? Yeah, you actually can. You don't need to copy the files to the new SD card. You can just take the old SD card out and put it in the new radio. Well done. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I feel dumb.
Just a reminder, you should not be using the base SD card in a radio anyway.
Yes.
If you are, don't do that. But if both of them are what came with it, then obviously use the old one.
All right. Daisy FPV, thank you for a £2 super chat. General PID rules for a powerful build, 5-inch 6S 2125 kV. Lower the master multiplier in the PID tuning tab a little bit, like 90%, and it'll probably be fine. Let's Logic says, I tried taking the old card out and putting it in. It didn't work. I'm curious, like, what didn't work about it? Like, what happened? Did it give an SD card error? That's interesting.
If it's a new version, you have to put the new files in there or you get bad radio data.
That's true. If it's a different Express LRS version, you may get an error. Yeah.
Not Express LRS.
I'm sorry, a different
HDX.
HDX version. Thank you, Plenty. Discord question from Not Merides, please. Thank you for $5. Let's find this Discord question from Not Merides. Plenty, if you find it and queue it, I'd love that. I'm currently looking. There it is. I got it. What are the considerations for building a good quality built-in recording drone for filming safely around people and indoors? Want 4K video? I'm assuming ducks would be a good start, but just buy a ready-made one. I like building ones. Is it just not very worth it? Not Merides. Most people who want to get 4K video filming safely around people and indoors would get a quadcopter like the GepRC Cinelog 3.0, a 3-inch, between maybe a 2-inch or a 3-inch. A 2-inch is going to be smaller. It's going to be less threatening to the people. It's going to be less wind blowing stuff around, but have smaller, shorter flight time. Any of those drones can be purchased with the O4 Air unit, which is a fantastic choice for onboard 4K recording. You're going to get not quite GoPro level, I think, but acceptably good quality video. You can even record in a log profile to do color grading after the fact. You'll have good control over exposure and color. Like, you can absolutely get professional level results out of an O4 Air unit. It's onboard recording. It's not like cinema quality, right? But it's certainly like commercial quality. And for some shots, you might even see an O4 shot in a movie if there was no other way to get the shot, and they kind of just made it work. Okay. So, yeah, the GepRC Cinelog 3.0 would be a good thing to look at. As far as DIY, honestly, for Cinewhoop style flying, the ready-built ones are about as good as anything you're going to build yourself, unless you have like a specific need, like you need to carry a particular camera or you need a particularly long flight time. And so most of the time I would just say to buy a bind and fly one instead of building your own. Okay. We got a comment here from Sunshine who points out about the DJI not being available. He says DJI announced that the flagship stuff isn't available in the US. So DJI has made an intentional decision to stop selling flagship products to the US. And that's why the N3 is available, but not the G3. It's the same reason that the new Mavic 4 Pro won't be sold in the US at launch.
Even though they already FCC certified it, right? Pretty sure.
I think you're right, but
yeah,
I can tell you I know one person, I will not name names, I know one person in the US personally who has a Mavic 4 Pro that he imported through a third-party country and had shipped to him rather than buying it direct from DJI. And it's pretty fucking cool. It has object tracking, and he locked it onto me, and I like ran around while it followed me, and it was terrifying. And I tried to do stupid stuff. Like I started running towards it, and it backs up, right? Because it's tracking me. And I was like, aha, I'm going to make it run into a building. So I ran at it and tried to make it back up into a tree or into a building, and it was like, nah, I got obstacle avoidance. It didn't fall for any of it. I went underneath an awning, and then I took off my hat and my jacket, and I gave my hat and jacket to a different person, and they walked out from the awning, and it was like, nah, that's not you. And I'm like, oh my God, we're in trouble. It was pretty cool. Anyway. Continuing on, we're almost done with the stream, but I got to finish the super chats. FPV Mark, thank you for a $10 super chat. I built your analog sub 250 and learned to fly with your videos. Thanks for replying to my email. Thank you so much for the donation, and glad we were able to help. Marty Seppi, thank you for your €2.49 donation. Let's Logic, thank you for your donation. Still getting some help in the chat, hopefully. Ben Masters, thank you for a $10 super chat. Had a friend that had these old FreeSky controllers that had a ratcheting feel through the throttle. Is the name for that? Yes, it's ratcheting throttle. Can I get that on a Radio Master Pocket? Yeah. I don't think you should. Actually, I take it back. I'm not 100% sure that the gimbal on the Radio Master Pocket has a ratcheting mechanism. Hold on. I may actually wait for it. Oh, look at that. I have a Radio Master Pocket here that I opened up to steal the antenna from, to put a folding antenna on my Boxer, and sure enough, that means that we can look and we can see that no, the Radio Master Pocket does not have a ratchet on the throttle. There would be a second bar right here that would have a ratcheting mechanism. We can see that it does not have that ratcheting bar. So no, there is no way to get a ratcheting throttle on the Radio Master Pocket. And you shouldn't anyway.
Probably technically you could replace the bar or something, but you do not want to do that.
No, because you have to have notches on the gimbal. You could put
it's on the back of the thing. You have to have notches.
The bar has a little notch, and then the gimbal has ratcheting notches that fit into it. So I don't think so. You could manually carve notches into the back of the gimbal, and then manually create a notch spring bar, and you could do it. But it's not worth it. But ratcheting throttle for multi-rotors is a bad idea, because on an airplane, the throttle doesn't need to be ultra precise. But on a multi-rotor, the throttle needs to be very precise, because it's much more related to the flight of like on an airplane, the precise flight comes from the control surfaces. And if your motor is making slightly more or slightly less thrust, one ratchet notch, it kind of doesn't matter. But on a multi-rotor, you need very, very precise control of the throttle, and the ratchet actually reduces your precision and makes it a little bit harder to fly precisely. So you shouldn't have a ratcheting throttle on a multi-rotor.
Marty Stepp from a couple questions ago did have a question he posted in chat later if you want to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you cue it, or should I look it up? Oh, I don't see it in the queue. I just see thank you for your donation.
Are you on the donation part, so you can't see the other messages?
No, I'm on the queued messages part. Oh, I'm on the super chats. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm on the super chats. Okay, I'll get it. Thank you. Dimitri Melnik, can we check if Dimitri has a $10 super chat? Can we check if he asked a question as well? Marconi Nevs said, thank you for a €5 super chat. I have a Meteor 75 Pro with the O4 and it's shaking a lot. I replaced one of the motors, but it didn't solve it. I don't know how to investigate it. Marconi, the question would be whether it's just the camera that is shaking. Specifically, the O4 Lite has an issue with image stabilization where it appears to shake a lot. Okay? So, if you look at the drone when you're flying it, like with your eyes instead of with your goggles, is it smooth? But then when you bring the footage, when you look at the recorded footage, it's shaking. That's the problem with your O4 Lite camera image stabilization. You can also just turn EIS off. And if that fixes the issue, that tells you what the problem is. Some people can fix this by soft mounting the camera differently. It's going to be annoying if you have to do that, though, because like you bought the Meteor 75 because you wanted to use it. I think the thing to do is just turn image stabilization off and just fly the drone like that. And you'll have usable footage, but it won't be stabilized footage. If you absolutely need stabilization, you have to look into different ways of mounting the camera. Harry Critchfield points out that there is a weak point on the 75 Pro where the screws go in and you may have a loose screw on the frame. If it's the O4 Lite stabilization that is the problem, then you can adjust the PWM frequency in your ESCs. You want to lower that, I think. Yeah. Oh my God, guys, we don't need to dig into this too much. I thought it was a little rude to say, "Don't give me a video. I don't have time for that shit." Okay, it wasn't intended as rude. It's not whether he paid $5 for one more word. You just ask your question. Ask your question. Right? Just ask your question would have been the thing to do. Solve my problem right now. I'm not going to get a video. I need you to solve it right now. You know. Yeah. But it's over. It's over. Let it be over. Point made, lesson learned. We're done. Learning about FPV drones. Thanks for the library of videos, says Jason B. Thank you for a $20 super chat, Jason. That's very generous. I will stand by. I'm sorry. I said let it be over. I should let it be over. It's over. Okay, Blunty, where is this question? Dimitri Melnick. He super chatted. We're just going to close out the super chats and then we'll finish the stream because we're already past 3 o'clock. I'm designing a frame for a 2.5-inch drone that will be 3D printed with internal battery bay. Do you think mounting the battery internally is a reasonable idea? Sure. I think 2.5-inch is about the smallest size where a 3D printed drone starts to kind of make sense. I think that the problem is that with an internal battery bay is you're locking yourself into one exact battery with the exact dimensions. And that's likely to be not worth it. I mean, what's the point of the internal battery bay versus a battery strap, right? I think you're likely to struggle with problems due to the 3D printed frame, but at the 2.5-inch size, it's possible it'll be okay. But like, does the internal battery bay protect the battery from damage? 2.5-inch bat, they're so light that I don't think you end up with a lot of damage in a crash most of the time. So I think that there are likely to be more downsides than upsides, but follow your dreams, you know. Marty Seppi, that was the other one, right, Blunty?
Yes.
I have a FetTech G4 and a 65 amp ESC running KISS Legacy. I have a Link quality and goggles though. Can I get RSSI on my goggles with KISS Legacy? I assume so, but I'm sorry, I'm not the guy to ask. I assume that KISS Legacy can do RSSI, but like I'm so not a KISS guy most of the time, and especially Legacy KISS, which is even older. So I appreciate the super chat, but I just don't know the answer. I think the answer should be yes, because RSSI support is so fundamental that I would think it was possible. All right. We got one more super chat here from Review FPV. I got 10 O4 Pro for $130 on Amazon because of a mess up. Congratulations, I guess. Good for you. That's a hell of a deal. All right. That is going to do it, folks. We are wrapped up for the day. Well, I'll see you tomorrow at the Monday night time. If you make it, I will be there. I am currently late to leave for a cat's birthday party. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. One of my friends has 3 kittens, and they're having their 1-year birthday party when they will be introduced to catnip for the first time. Apparently, you're not supposed to give young cats catnip, and she's very excited. Her kids really are actually very excited to give the adolescent kittens their first taste of that sweet, sweet nip. So I'm going to a cat's birthday party. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.